the satellite image of Beta, you can see the outflow here. A very favorable upper level pattern here, supporting building up the wave, and all just on forever. It could regenerate down the road. It's really still don't know that back to the ship. You can hear it. Hello, Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio and the Tropical Roundtable here with the video update. We're looking at a graphic from NOAA of the frequency of hurricanes and tropical storms over the last 100 years. And you can see right about now we're June 1st, actually let me change that, we're about June 2nd here. So we're right at a very low area of hurricanes and tropical storms in history. So that's good news, considering we don't want to see hurricanes, but trust me, as we get into late June, we start to see more, and then in July, you slowly start to see the rise up into August, and then a significant peak all the way to September, middle September, say September 10th, and then we'll go down, and then have a secondary peak around October 10th or so, before heading down throughout the hurricane season. So, considering the map, we are right here, and we've got all of this to go. So we have a lot of hurricanes on the way. Looks to be a very active season, and that is why you have to get prepared now. Please don't wait. You could see Max Mayfield, how stressed he is last night on the show, and we're all stressed from last hurricane season, and that's why in order to relieve stress on emergency officials and yourself, have your plan ready, because trust me, it makes a difference. It definitely makes a difference. Looking out there right now at the Atlantic Basin, the thing that sticks out are this area of cloudiness and showers and a lot of moisture down here. Notice that's one thing we don't have that we had this time last year, dry air. Remember this time last year how much dry air was around here, and Arlene developed and came on up and was able to strengthen almost to a hurricane under very favorable winds, but the dry air was just getting it. We don't have any of that, but we do not have favorable winds, so kind of good news there. However, let's focus a little bit on this area because we have been watching it very carefully. In fact, let's take a look at another view of it on the AVN, and you can see we're definitely starting to get a pattern going with this thing. You're starting to get some type of low pressure developing in here, about 1,009, 1,008 millibars, somewhere in this general area, and we'll look a little bit closer at that. And a lot of moisture with it. That's going to be a big problem. Whether or not it ever becomes close to developing into a tropical cyclone, we'll have to deal with a lot of tropical moisture down there. But then again, it is the Caribbean. Here's looking at the system right now, and you can see not a whole lot this morning when the sun came up. You're thinking when the sun came up, oh my goodness, we have a low pressure in here. It's starting to get better organized, and that just was not the case because we could see now that throughout the day, it has not, we don't see any signs of low pressure in this area here. Maybe very weak, but certainly you don't see any spinning clouds. If we saw spinning clouds in here, I'd be a lot more concerned. We do see a little bit of low pressure out here, but in general, just a lot of cloudiness and showers. But this is all going to move in a north. In fact, look at these upper level winds here streaming from the west ahead of our area down here, and that's why unfavorable conditions prevail in this situation. However, the shear that is currently affecting it is helping its chances at development in the Atlantic Basin, because if the shear stays, the system stays. If the shear is gone, the system would have a better chance to fan out, but would be moving into the Eastern Pacific. So have to keep an eye on this one as it moves generally northward, and things should get maybe a little bit more favorable. Not favorable enough certainly for a hurricane by any means, but favorable for some type of tropical development I think is very possible. Let's take a look at the latest from the Tropical Prediction Center. This is their 24-hour surface forecast, and you can see in 24 hours they're forecasting an area low pressure right in this area off the coast of Honduras and Nicaragua, and it looks like that could very well occur, as well as a tropical wave out here. So there's just a lot of moisture down here in the Caribbean, but climatologically speaking, the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico is where you want to be. Also notice this tropical wave out here, not going to do much. And a strong area of high pressure with a lot of shear coming out of the Gulf. That's going to be the saving grace for the United States. at least for the next couple of weeks. 48 hours, you can see the low pressure area is 1,009 millibars still sitting right here, and you can see the pattern starting to set up that this system is definitely going to have to get funneled northward somehow, some way. Whether or not it moves fast by 72 hours, just don't know yet. However, by 72, we're also looking at it starting to move more east-northeast. So again, yeah, you're starting to see that pattern where the unfavorable conditions prevail. You got the jet stream up here. Anything that comes out of the Caribbean, if the Caribbean's favorable and we had a hurricane, that thing would shoot out. The Bahamas and Cuba and the Caymans and Jamaica would have to worry about it, but it looks like the United States and the battered Yucatan Peninsula would get a break from that. Also notice possible tropical cyclone development, if you can see it off the screen, right in this area here. Low pressure, you can't see it, but there is an area of low pressure off the coast of Mexico that we'd have to watch as well. I'll show you that. This is going to be a pretty lengthy tropical update when I get done with it. Now this is the 84 hours, the Canadian, the 0Z Canadian, and you can see in 84 hours, 3-4 days, it has a tropical system right in here and an area of low pressure down here. And most of the models hint at something down here kind of sitting around and spinning and dissipating and strengthening and dissipating. So we're going to have to watch the East Pack. But right now, you can see this Canadian picks up on it, and that would definitely be funneling right off to the northeast. As a matter of fact, they show a pretty good weakness in whatever ridging there is by the 96 to 120 hour time frame on the Canadian. And you can see there's what I'm talking about, 126 hours. You can see the system pulling on out, and the system in the East Pack continuing. That could be a rainfall threat, and I'll show you that as well in just a few minutes. Long range GFS, this is 90 hours, so this isn't too long range, but 90 hours out you can see it clearly has a tropical system with tropical moisture moving on off towards Cuba and the Bahamas. And not bad. I mean, 1,008 millibar low here, and lopsided due to shear. I mean, I could see that, as that would pool northeastward. Not sure, again, how strong it would be if it would become a tropical storm. Its name would be Alberto, so we'll have to watch that. Then we get a little bit further out. We're talking 174 hours here. Notice a low-pressure area developing in the eastern Pacific. Nothing really in the Atlantic of concern. By 252 hours, we clearly have a strengthening system in the eastern Pacific, and the intertropical convergence zone is getting active with low pressure. This is all the GFS long range, but it did pretty good with the prediction of something spinning in the southwest Caribbean as well as Alita, so I'm going to give it a shot here on the update. 276, clearly a strengthening tropical storm or hurricane off the Mexican coast. Area of low pressure moving on into the Caribbean Sea. And then by 384 hours, things are just a mess with a lot of moisture down here, a lot of moisture in the Gulf, systems up here. Now, I don't think this is all going to pan out, but what I do think is that the GFS is definitely picking up, that there's going to be action in the tropics come mid-June. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Here's the MM5 as of 72 hours. Notice it takes an area of low pressure up in this area as well as off the coast of Mexico. So got to watch that. And here's what I was talking about. This is the 120-hour precipitation forecast of all the accumulated precipitation from the MM5. And you can see that it does show some in the Caribbean, but most disturbing off the coast of Mexico and right on the coast. A lot of rainfall with that tropical system that the models are picking up on just sitting and spinning out there. That could be very bad. But clearly a track, in fact I'll change that black, clearly a track this way and something hanging around Mexico. Most of the models hint on that, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Elsewhere in the Atlantic right now, the intertropical convergence zone active, starting to get the waves moving on up to a higher latitude, and we'll see those start to move even further north, come off near 10, and then they'll get in the Caribbean by July, and by late July we'll really have an active Atlantic wave train. Eastern Pacific, this area is very close to becoming a tropical depression. I think this has potential to become a storm over the next couple of days. Little area out here well to the southeast of Hawaii. Not going to do anything, I don't think. But this area right here could very well develop. And I don't think this is what the models were picking up on. This was forecast to move pretty much in a north or northwesterly direction. So if this becomes Bud, I'm not sure that the system that all the models are hinting at causing all the rain over here would be Bud. So that could be Carlotta. But That's getting a long way down the line, and I'm babbling, so let's move on. Western Pacific, very quiet, thankfully, some rain over the Philippines. But other than that, nothing going on this June 2nd, 2006. Hurricane season 2006 is upon us, and it's going to be an active one. I'm Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio. I'll see you next time.